Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti
Hare Krishna. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yes.
So we're reading from Bhagavad Gita today.
Yes, yeah. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming. We got two special guests come from Shri Radha Temple from London. And as you can see, they are brahmachari, they are celibates. Their job basically is to, what he was saying earlier, is
have no job.
no jobs, but distributing the Krishna consciousness all over the universe. His name is Abhinandan Prabhu, and we have Alalanath Prabhu, and both have come to grace us tonight. Thank you so much for coming. And as per our ISKCON tradition, we would like to welcome by 3 Haribols. Haribol! So they are Sankirtan devotees, and they spend quite a bit of time during the Christmas time on our high streets on Rochester. And we have a devotee who has come here today, who has received a book from maybe one of you, and he has come to our Sangha tonight. So let's say 3 Haribol again for him.
Haribol!
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, you've all graced us with your presence because, we're the ones that got on the train and came all the way here. We wouldn't do that if it wasn't worth it. So we came here to associate with all of you. So thank you so much for having us. And we'll crack on. We're going to be reading from the Bhagavad Gita today. I was told chapter 2, text 8. That's right?
Yeah, 8 onwards.
Okay, 8 onwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Nahi prapasyami mama panudyat.
Nahi prapasyama manusyam.
Yachokam uchosanam indriyanam.
Yachokam uchosanam indriyanam.
Avapya bhumav asapadnam ridam. Rajyam sharanam apichadipatyam. Do you usually read the word for word?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Na, do not. He, certainly. Prapashyami, I see. Mama, my. Apanudyat, can drive away. Yat, that which. Shokam, lamentation. Uchoshanam, drying up. Indriyanam, of the senses. Avapya, achieving. Bhumam, on the earth. Asapatnam, without rival. Ridam, prosperous. Rajyam, kingdom. Suranam, of the demigods. Api, even. Cha, also. Adipatyam, supremacy. I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth, with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Shri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge. Is this come up? Maybe I touched it wrong. Should I carry on? I'll speak loud. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyasi Shudra Kininoi. Ye Krishna Tattva Veta Se Luhoi. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master. So without being... The room's got good acoustics. So. So without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in the Vedic literature, Sat karma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharada avaishnavo gurur nasyad vaishnava swa pacho guru. A scholarly brahmana, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava. Or, in other words, expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed, yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna. Through the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness, if economic development and material comforts could drive away one's limitations for family, social, national, or international inebriaties, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods and the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away his lamentations. He sought, therefore, refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation to a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this, Kshine punye martya lokam vishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such fall downs only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna, as Arjuna is seeking to do so. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. So we'll stop there, I think. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swagatantikam Panchakalpatarubhishcha Kripasindhudevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the verse again, I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Right. Srila Prabhupada ki. So just a bit of context, for those who have been here to the previous sessions or for those who haven't, either way it's nice to recap on what's been going on. Right? So Arjuna is here, he's standing on the battlefield. Arjuna is a great warrior and he's facing the reality that he's going to have to fight against his friends, his family members, his teachers, some of his grandfathers, his uncles, his relatives, people that he trusted, and even people that he learned from, some of his gurus in the science of archery and so on. And so, after facing this reality, after having this realization that this is the situation that he's in, he has to fight these people. Him being a very saintly character, he speaks to Krishna, who is in the position of his chariot driver at this time. And he tells him that, actually, I can't stand this. Seeing my elders, seeing my friends, seeing my companions on the other side of the battlefield, waiting to fight me with swords and bow and arrow, I can't. My mind is reeling. My skin is burning. I only see causes of misfortune, he says. And in the next verse, he will say, Govinda, I shall not fight. And he drops his arrow and he gives up. Now, it's explained that the compassion which Arjuna is feeling at this time is a fertile bed in which spirituality can grow. That this is the perfect candidate for spiritual life. Compassionate, humble, tolerant. He'd rather die on the battlefield than kill anybody, than harm anyone. He would rather be killed. Unmotivated, without any fight back, right? So this is a heart which is a fertile bed in which spiritual wisdom could grow. But he isn't quite there yet, in this case. Now it's explained that, the whole Bhagavad Gita essentially is about doing our duty, right? And facing the battlefield of life, right? So I get this question all the time. We travel around, as Prabhu was mentioning, we travel around the UK, we distribute these books, particularly Bhagavad Gita is the book that we distribute most. And we get this question all the time, I've heard about the Bhagavad Gita, and it's set on a battlefield, and the main character is going to war, and I don't understand because I thought spirituality was all about compassion and kindness and peace and harmony and non-violence. Which is true, it is about all of those things. So why is it set on a battlefield? Why is Arjuna getting ready to fight? And why, as the Bhagavad Gita continues, you'll see why is Krishna inducing Arjuna to fight? Now, of course, there's the explanation that, when you learn about the context, he's fighting on religious principles. He's fighting for a more moral leader to come into power. So he's causing violence so that less violence can be caused in the future, essentially. And he's bringing one of his relatives, Yudhishthira, into power. And Yudhishthira is known as the most moral king. He never told a lie in his entire life, it's explained. And this is the person who Arjuna is fighting for. And the other side of the battlefield are fighting for people who are evil-minded, who are selfish, filled with lust, anger, greed, who want to exploit the citizens of the kingdom for their own sense gratification. So that's one explanation, and that's quite sufficient, you might say. That's good enough. But even more than that, actually, it's important to note that although the Bhagavad Gita did happen in the Mahabharata, it's a real story, it happened historically. At the same time, it's very symbolic of each one of our lives, on the battlefield of life. And each one of us will run into either a situation or many situations where we're standing on the battlefield of life, looking at the other side and thinking, what am I going to do? Who am I in this situation? Which side should I take? Or what should I say to this person? Or what approach do I take in this situation? Or am I strong enough to face this reality that I'm facing? Anybody here ever felt like that before? Everyone's hand should be up, actually. We face many problems and challenges in life. That goes without exception. Everyone faces challenges in life. Even this young man. What's your name? How old are you? 9 years old. 9 years old and already facing the challenges of life. Life is difficult, even at the age of 9, right? We face problems, we face issues. You have siblings? No? Okay, you've got less problems. You're not in this country, okay. You were saved. No, I'm joking. No, but we face problems, You put two people in the same room, some problem will arise eventually. We may overcome it, but things happen, right? And so the reason why the Bhagavad Gita is spoken in this way, spoken on a battlefield, is because Arjuna is in the most difficult situation anybody could possibly be in. He's on a battlefield, he's a compassionate soul, and he has to actively fight against people who he loves for a righteous cause. Can anyone think of a situation more difficult than that? Having to go on the battlefield and actually kill people for a righteous cause, ultimately. And having this dilemma in your mind, knowing that the goal is righteous and I need to fight for this, otherwise many people will suffer. But at the same time, I don't want to harm these people. So the reason why it's spoken in this way is so that we can look at our lives and there's no situation we can face where we can say, okay, sure, Bhagavad Gita is good, but my situation is more difficult. Bhagavad Gita doesn't apply to my life. We can never think that. Arjuna was faced with the greatest difficulty. And so on the battlefield of life, or for the spiritualist, the fight against Maya, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita can always apply. And Krishna goes on to explain that the embodied soul, caged in the body, the soul is different from the body. He's caged in the body is a vehicle. And he's traveling from boyhood to youth to old age, and similarly he passes on to a new life at the moment of death. He takes a new body. And actually you are not this body. You are not this mind. And so all of the troubles and anxieties and fears that arise, they arise from the body and mind. So if we're not this body, if we're not this mind, then why do we let these things affect us? Ultimately, we shouldn't. There's no cause for lamentation. There's no cause for hankering or distress. Matra sparsas tu kanteya sitoshna sukadugata agama paino nityas tam satiksha swadharata. The next verse, Krishna explains that suffering, happiness, they arise like winter and summer seasons. Just expect them. They will come and they will go. And ultimately, you can face them, but don't identify with them. Right? It's like if you're driving in your car, you can be driving and someone may, scratch the car. And now, nobody likes that. But ultimately, it's not as bad as when we experience a cut on our own body. Right? That's because of our identification. We believe we are this body. We don't believe we're the car, but we believe we are the body. Now, you can extend the analogy that if you're driving in a car which maybe belongs to your company, and the company has some money set aside for damages, things like that, you won't get in trouble, these things happen, and you know that the car doesn't belong to you. There's less identity attached to it. If someone scratches that car, are you in much distress? No, it's fine. It doesn't belong to me anyways. It belongs to someone up there, and they have plenty of resources to fix it, and everything's going to be okay in the end. So the spiritualist who understands things as they are, he sees that this body actually doesn't belong to me. It belongs to God, ultimately. It belongs to Krishna. And it is a vehicle. It's a vehicle for my soul to carry out the activities it needs to carry out its karma. And ultimately, I'm meant to use this body as a tool to help others, right? And that's not easy. None of us want to be in a difficult situation and, seek advice from a friend, and the friend just tells us, "You're not the body, okay? You're not the mind. Just don't worry about it." No, that doesn't help. We need something practical. And so, what does Krishna say as the Bhagavad Gita goes on, especially in the middle 6 chapters? He explains, Bhakti amam abhijanati yavanyas chasmi tatvataha, that only through bhakti, only through devotional service, can one gain practical realization of what I'm teaching you. So yes, you're not this body, yes, you're not this mind, but Krishna explains how we can actually come to that realization, and that's through serving him and serving his devotees. Now, it's very, very important that we come to the understanding that we are nothing without the mercy which we receive from the devotees and from Krishna, right? And you can apply this rule materially. Has anyone here ever learned anything without the help of some external person or thing? You have? What did you learn? Okay. You think about it for a little while. Come on. Very nice. But the main point is that anytime we learn something, it comes from somewhere else. Right? So we rely on that mercy. Now, in spirituality, because it's such a subtle science, it's very subtle. Just like how, we have this gross body, gross material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. These things we can perceive very easily. But then you have the mind, right? The mind is a little bit more subtle, we say, in Krishna consciousness. Because you can't see it necessarily. You can kind of hear it in your brain, but not as tangible as material sound. And it's difficult to measure, But we know it's there. So similarly, the soul, the spirit, is even more subtle. It's even more difficult to measure. It's even more difficult to understand and test, for example. But that doesn't mean it's not there. And it's explained that this spiritual science can only be understood through the mercy, getting the mercy from the great devotee, getting the mercy from Krishna. And that's a beautiful thing, because it takes us back to devotional service. They say that to love means to serve. To serve means to please. And to please means to know. Right? If we want to develop any love, how does love manifest? It manifests as service. It's like if a friend of yours gives you a call in the middle of the night and says, "I just got into an accident, I need your help, please come over right now, I'll give you the address, just please come over, I need some assistance." Do you say, "I love you," and hang up on his face? No, we don't do that. We go and we serve them, we help them, because love manifests as service. Now, how can we serve someone? What does it mean to serve someone? To please them, to bring some pleasure to them, either by getting them out of distress or by giving them something which they like, bringing them to some kind of higher platform of enjoyment. That's the essence of pleasing someone. Now, can we please someone if we don't know who they are or what they like or what they do? If any of us have ever been in a relationship with a significant other, I'm not one to give advice on this because I'm a monk, but if you've ever been in that situation and sometimes you rack your brain, okay, what do I buy them? What do they like? Oh, they mentioned that thing that one time, but I wasn't really paying attention, so I don't know exactly which type to get. You know what I mean? You have to really listen, you have to really know about the person in order to please them. So love ultimately means to know. We have to know someone inside and out if we love them, or if we want to love them. So Krishna, if we want to love Krishna, if we want to develop love for him, we have to know who he is and what he wants. And if we want to know about ourselves, first we have to love Krishna. Or on the path of trying to love Krishna, we learn about ourselves. And so I wanted to read something from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Has anybody here not heard of the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Just please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Don't be shy, it's totally fine if you haven't. Okay, cool. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita is a beautiful set of books which explains the science of love of God. Right, you have the Bhagavad Gita, which explains the relationship. Bhagavad Gita is the most commonly known, it's the foundation of spiritual life. It explains the relationship, right? So I'm an individual soul, and this material world is encapsulating me, and ultimately there's God, and I have an eternal connection with God. So it explains the relationship, the basics. Then you have Srimad Bhagavatam, which explains the process by which you can understand that relationship, right? We do devotional service. The Bhagavatam has countless stories of different people, devotees, trying to achieve that highest stage of love of God, and sometimes failing and picking themselves back up and trying again, and what that looks like, what that process looks like. Now, Chaitanya Charitamrita is a beautiful book because it explains the goal. So you have the relationship, you have the process, and then you have the goal, right? And it explains the goal because it's the story of Lord Chaitanya, the Kali Yuga avatar. Because Krishna comes down in Kali Yuga 550 years ago, and of course he comes down in the guise of a devotee to show the perfect example of a devotee. And he comes down with all of his associates, and all of them are pure devotees. All of them are in pure love of God. And so this book is teaching what it looks like for a humongous group of people all interacting with each other who are all already at the stage of pure love of God. Right? So you get to see that and relish that. So I wanted to read something there which is quite related to this idea of mercy, receiving the mercy, and what that means. So is it possible to get this on the screen? So it's on the same website. If you like, I can even do it if you want.
You want the top?
Yeah, if you want the top there. Or if you want, I can. Yeah. C-A-R-I.
Is this one? Kirtan.
There.
Then your database.
Yep,
Yeah.
right there. Adi Lila, first one. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, text. Then you just go down to text number 34, and we'll read from there. We'll just read the texts, so you can leave it as it is. You don't have to click. So if you go back, yeah, if you just leave it there, we'll just read the text, just the verses like that. So read a few verses, and it's very special. Maybe we can pay attention and see how. Maybe I'll ask everyone at the end, so how do we receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, or how do we receive the mercy of Lord Krishna? And we'll share some reflections. So, this is Lord Chaitanya speaking here, after describing that he is trying to be a gardener by planting the seeds of love of God in the hearts of as many people that he meets. That was his mission. And now he goes on this dialogue, which is very interesting. And he says, I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? It would certainly be a very laborious task to pick the fruits and distribute them alone, and still I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. These are the fruits of love of God, by the way, he's speaking about. It's metaphorical. Therefore, I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. I am the only gardener. If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? How many fruits can I alone eat? By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree. And thus there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. Distribute this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. If the fruits are distributed all over the world, my reputation as a pious man will be known everywhere, and thus all people will glorify my name with great pleasure. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvarsh, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. It is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. By his work, thoughts, and words, an intelligent man must perform actions which will be beneficial for all living entities in this life and the next. I am merely a gardener. I have neither a kingdom nor very great riches. I simply have some fruits and flowers that I wish to utilize to achieve piety in my life. Although I am acting as a gardener, I also want to be the tree, for thus I can bestow benefit upon all. Just see how these trees are maintaining every living entity. Their birth is successful. Their behavior is just like that of great personalities. For anyone who asks anything from a tree never goes away disappointed. The descendants of the tree, the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, were very glad to receive this order directly from the Lord. The fruit of love of God is so delicious that wherever a devotee distributes it, those who relish the fruit anywhere in the world immediately become intoxicated. The fruit of love of God distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such a great intoxicant that anyone who eats it, filling his belly, immediately becomes maddened by it, and automatically he chants, dances, laughs, and enjoys. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great gardener, sees that people are chanting, dancing, and laughing, and that some of them are rolling on the floor and some are making loud humming sounds, he smiles with great. The great gardener, Lord Chaitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result, he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. With his Sankirtan movement, the Lord made everyone mad like himself. We do not find anyone who is not intoxicated by his Sankirtan movement. Persons who had formerly criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, calling him a drunkard, also ate the fruit and began to dance, saying, "Very good, very good." After describing the Lord's distribution of the fruit of love of Godhead, I now wish to describe the different branches of the tree of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. So, don't we want to taste this fruit ourselves? And that's the main difference between Krishna consciousness and some other traditions, although in essence they have the same idea, but it can be lost in many cultures in the world. But that difference is that, it's about experience. It's about our tangible taste that we get from Krishna consciousness that proves to us that this process works, and that Krishna is God, and that the process we've been given by the acharyas is a real bona fide process. It's because we've tried and tested it, and we've been maddened by the fruits of love of Godhead. You might be walking on the street in Oxford Circus and seeing these crazy Hare Krishnas with their hands in the air chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you might think, these guys are probably on drugs. I know many people that when they first met the devotees, they thought they were on drugs or drinking. I actually have one story which I'll share in New Mayapur. Anyone here been to New Mayapur in France? A beautiful palace estate owned by the Hare Krishnas. They have a beautiful temple there. They do food for life, food distribution. They invite volunteers to come and experience the lifestyle. It's an amazing, amazing place. And back in the, I think, maybe 70s or 80s, it was really popping. I mean, there was a lot of people living there and volunteering, and people were getting involved. And there was one young man who joined the movement in France at that place, and he had a father who was not very fond of that practice. And his father was a journalist, actually. He had a very well-known magazine in France at the time. And so the father came to visit him during a festival day. The devotees put on an amazing festival. There was a drama, there was plenty of Kirtan going on all day, amazing music, amazing food, prasadam, spiritually sanctified food, which we'll be having some of later. And the father visited. He was a bit skeptical, but he tried everything. He joined in the Kirtan, he sang, he danced with the devotees, he had prasadam. And then afterwards, he had a realization, I know what all of their success is coming from. They put drugs in the food. Because he said he experienced some bliss, he experienced some ecstasy from his experiences there at the property. And so this was his theory. And so he wrote in his magazine, And he accused the Hare Krishnas of putting drugs in their food and intoxicating people. And that's why they were all maddened by this chanting, but actually it's just drugs. Now this sparked controversy, and actually the police were notified, the local authorities, and they came unexpectedly to the property, and they searched everything inside out. I actually know someone who was there when this happened in the 70s, or maybe early 80s, and he witnessed it himself. They searched every room, every nook and corner of the whole estate, and they found nothing. Not one drop of alcohol, not one drug, not one cigarette even. They found nothing. They forced this journalist to retract his statement, and his magazine ended up, well, it wasn't very successful after that, I'll just say. But this is proof that there is something special. There is something special in this mantra. And back to my point, when it comes to sharing this mantra, it's like we have a cup, a nectar cup, and you fill up your cup and you drink it, and then sometimes your cup is so full that you don't have the opportunity to drink so much of it, and you have to fill other people's cups. But the special thing is that when you fill someone else's cup, your cup gets larger. And that's why this Krishna consciousness movement is not a matter of us practicing on our own. This is amazing, because devotee association is wonderful, but we should go out there and we should distribute the fruits of love of God. That's why Arati here is actually the #1 Sankirtan devotee in the whole of the UK. Distributed over 100 Bhagavatam sets last month. And so it's a very special feeling that you get when you go out and you encourage someone. Dear sir, dear madam, I love the shoes that you're wearing. You look so wonderful. You have amazing style. And when you smile, it's so wonderful. And you make friends with them and you ask them, please, chant this Maha Mantra. And they chant the Maha Mantra. And then when you go home and you chant the Maha Mantra, you will feel more bliss, more ecstasy. Because, why? Anyone want to guess?
Because you're not the body.
Yes, because we're not the body. But why by going out and sharing this Maha Mantra with other people? Why does your ecstasy increase? Why does your bliss
Your
increase?
glass is getting bigger and bigger.
Your glass is getting bigger, yes. But why? Why is your glass getting bigger?
It pleases Prabhupada.
Yes. It pleases Prabhupada, it pleases Krishna. And therefore we get the mercy. It all comes back to that. Now back to the point of Arjuna. He's in this distressful situation, not knowing what to do. And he's thinking, first of all, I don't know what to do, but whatever situation I choose will be suffering. If I choose to be idle and not fight, I'll be killed. If I choose to fight back, I'll kill those who I love. It's all suffering. And Krishna's explained to him, you're not this body, you're not this mind. But Arjuna says, but it's impossible to realize this, it's impossible to control my mind. Ultimately, the real way to learn that we are not this body, not this mind, is we need to receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. We need to receive the mercy of our gurus, our acharyas, and Krishna ultimately. By receiving that mercy, you're able to understand the philosophy. It's not a material science, it's not a logical thing. It is logical in one sense because it can be explained and can be studied, but it's not the same as empirical science. We actually have to do something. And Krishna, he says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogamtam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I, from within their heart, give them the knowledge by which they can come to me. So you hear people say this, that God exists within everyone, God is in everyone's heart. Yes, this is a level of God realization, and we approach that level by His service. And Krishna is in our heart, and He gives us that guidance, but it's a reciprocal relationship. We have to do something. And the thing which pleases Him the most is giving Him to others. Krishna wants to bring as many of His wayward family back home. And we're a part of that family. And real oneness, we hear about oneness in spirituality. Real oneness is to bring that oneness, that unity in desire. That our desire becomes one with Krishna's desire. No more desires for myself. I simply desire what Krishna wants for me and others. And you carry out that order. And that is real harmony. That is real peace. So perhaps we can open for some questions, some discussion. If anyone has anything to share.
Make it interactive.
Yeah.
Shall I ask?
Yeah, you can raise your hand if you have a question.
Let me start.
Yeah, please.
Have time to think. Theoretically, it's very easy to say that I'm not this body, but we identify ourselves with this body, with the senses, with the mind, with intelligence, and with ego. How can we practically kind of negate, let's say, the body first and the mind and the rest of it, and come to the understanding of their own soul?
Well, it's very important that we start our day on the spiritual level, right? Many of us know that the morning hours are the best hours for spiritual practice. And if you're able to, everyone has a different capacity, but if you're able to wake up at a reasonably early hour and do some chanting, some japa meditation, where you sit quietly on your own or even with others, and you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is spiritual technology. This is a tool by which we can engage in, and we can slowly remove the roots of all of our upadhis, or false designations, you can say. Because what happens when you sit in a quiet room and chant the mantra? This comes up in your mind, and this memory, and this desire, and this form of greed, lust, anger, all these different things, they come up because you're left alone with the mind. And that's something that everybody experiences. Again, there's no exception. Everybody has a mind, and everyone's mind disturbs them, at least sometimes. And you have the opportunity to face all of those upadhis, false designations, right? The past doesn't exist. The future is yet to be. It's only the present. It's only now. And similarly, this body is temporary. We are eternal. This mind is temporary. We are eternal. And so all of these different things that come up in our mind, it's okay for them to be there, but we shouldn't identify with them. So in our japa meditation, we chant in the morning, and as things come up, we constantly remind ourselves, this is not me. I'm simply a servant of the holy name, a servant of the mantra. And by repeated practice, it becomes a part of our very being. We're able to remember it at all times. That takes some practice, of course, but the nice thing is that the process is joyful. Sukham kartum avyayam, joyfully performed. So, the beginning is to just chant and constantly remind myself, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm a soul seated in the heart. I'm just chanting, hearing this mantra. Because really, who's chanting? The body is chanting, the soul is just hearing. So chanting is the most practical thing. And throughout our day, we can also remind ourselves, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. And you'll find that you're immediately relieved from so much anxiety just with that. I mean, it's such an amazing tool to relieve ourselves from anxiety and stress. I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. Simple. So if we can develop that memory, any difficult situation, we just remember that. That's a very great help to us. So yeah. If anyone else has any ideas, also please feel free to share. Or any more questions.
So this preaching business seems to be there in every religion. Christianity, ISKCON, and
yes.
So what is the difference in this compared to, say, Christianity?
The essence is the same. I have many friends, brothers and sisters who are Jehovah's Witnesses or Muslims or so on. Prabhupada explained that if you practice it as it is meant to be practiced in a pure way, it's the same. It is the same. Totally. Now there are different religions that were revealed based on different time, place and circumstance, but ultimately the message is one. The path is one. And that's becoming a more common idea, actually. People are starting to see that. But the reason why it's there in every religion is because it is something that truly pleases God. I mean, Jesus Christ was a preacher, right? Moses was a preacher, and all of the disciples were preachers. Srila Prabhupada was a great preacher. All of his gurus and acharyas and all of his disciples were preachers. This is the real path to God consciousness. is to share love of God with others. And then your love of God will amass into a great big ocean. You know? It takes an ocean to satisfy the heart, an ocean of love. And we'll never be satisfied unless we really go deep into that practice, developing that, you know? So it's like we have many rivers entering the mind, you know? And if we don't have an ocean already there, you know, then the rivers will be disturbing us in so many ways. But as you see practically, when rivers enter an ocean, the ocean remains still. So if you develop that deep knowledge and wisdom and gratitude and love, ultimately love for Krishna and for all living beings, that is like a great ocean in the heart. And whatever comes into your heart, you're undisturbed. And that's what happens when you go out and share Krishna consciousness with others. So we've been doing this practice. We've been coming on Saturdays to the area, Rochester and other areas around. We've been working with Connor. Many of you know Connor. And we've been distributing books. So distributing books is a very amazing and quick way to get the mercy. This is your shortcut to getting the mercy. It's by going out, facing the public, meeting them, speaking to them kindly, and encouraging them. Here, listen, please keep this book. We're not a negative process, we're a positive process. We don't ask anybody to stop doing this or stop doing that, or we don't ask anyone to leave their religion or nothing. No, we just simply add. Stay where you are, but please keep this book. Please chant this mantra. And by practicing this, you'll feel so much bliss. You came out with us once or twice, didn't you? How was it?
Yeah, it's very nice.
It was very nice.
It seems like a good book to shoot.
Yeah. Yes. With that smile, everybody would want to stop.
Perfect shape as well. Half monk, half still.
It's simple and sublime. It's simple and sublime. And so I encourage everybody to engage in that activity. It's really, really fun. It's difficult at first, but it gets easier. So yeah. Thank you for your question. Any others?
Just on the point of other religions, just out of interest. I mean, Srila Prabhupada, in the prayers that are pronounced to Srila Prabhupada, it says that he came to the West to get rid of impersonalism. But we see that most other religions are impersonalist. So how can you say they're the same?
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about this last couple of weeks ago about Christianity, for example, which really is personalism. They don't have any idea of the person of God. So how do we say that it's the same? And Srila Prabhupada, when he stated he came to get rid of impersonalism and to introduce personalism. So how do you equate that they are the same thing?
Yeah, yeah. The idea is that the essence, and if practiced purely according to the teachings, they are the same. But the problem is that as time goes on, the science as it is appears to be lost. Time degrades everything, including wisdom, knowledge, and so even books change. The Bible has been changed so many times. And so, you know, Jesus refers to God as the Father. That sounds personal to me, the Father. That sounds like a relationship, it sounds personal. Similarly, Muhammad, in many what's called hadiths, which is like the pastimes of the different prophets, he has many prayers where he says, you know, oh Father, I can't wait to be with you, I can't wait to feel your embrace, I can't wait to see your beautiful face, and all these different things, I can't wait to sit by your feet. These are personal descriptions of God. And so the essence sometimes is lost, in many cultures is lost, but Prabhupada would stress that the way people are practicing religion today is very off. It's changed a lot. But if practiced in the pure way, it is the same as Krishna consciousness. The same in terms of, in the sense that there's no contradiction. They're not the same because, of course, we have different books, we have different approaches, we have different practices, but the essence is the same, and they don't contradict each other. The philosophy doesn't contradict each other. If practiced purely. For example, there's a classic case that Prabhupada would say, you know, in the Bible, it says, thou shalt not kill. But we see many slaughterhouses are opened in the West, right? And it's approved by Christianity. Now they'll say that it meant human beings, it meant don't murder. But nowhere in the Bible does it say that. thou shalt not kill means thou shalt not kill. Similarly, in the Quran, it explains that you should try your best. Of course, they were living in the desert, remember, so there was exceptions. But it says you should try your best to not eat anything that has blood. Now, what did the Muslims in the modern day do to respond to that? They kill animals and they drain all the blood and eat them. I mean, that's just quite obvious, right? So all religions, they even preach vegetarianism, just like Krishna consciousness. Of course, there's always exceptions for the desert dwellers and so on. But yes, the essence is the same, I would say. Yeah. Thank you.
Mine wasn't really a question, it was just a thing that happened just before Christmas. I was going to theatre and I arrived really early to meet someone. And as I got off at Holden, I turned right and there was a long table, devotees hanging up. So I got an hour, so I sort of joined in really.
Wow.
And it was lovely, they were really good. But what I was going to say was, and it just felt so lovely. And they're both from the temple in Soho, doing that. And the people that came up, there wasn't one person who was unpleasant. Not everyone took a book, obviously, not everyone engaged, but the actual feeling of it was really nice. I really enjoyed it.
Amazing.
That was it, really.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. People wonder sometimes, why is it so nice to distribute books? Why is it so nice to share this wisdom with others? Why do I get such a blissful feeling? Because maybe here not so much, but in London you see all these different groups that they go out and collect donations, and they, are kind of in one sense preaching something. And there's the knife crime groups, and there's this CARES initiative. There's different groups that they go out and collect donations. But I've heard from reliable sources that they actually, it's for charity, but they keep, each individual who's doing that, they keep 40% of the money that they take. And there's little kind of tricky things like that. And if you observe these people, they are not having a good time. They're in great distress, they're in great anxiety. When they speak to someone and they're smiling, but as soon as they turn around, the smile disappears. And they're looking for the next person, and they're very much in a rush and very passionate.
The vegetarian cookbook went down quite a lot as well.
Say again, sorry?
We had the vegetarian cookbook as well. I can't remember which one it's called. But anyway, that went down very well. It was very popular.
Yeah. People love to eat.
Yeah.
Yes, and so this point about, you see these different groups, it looks externally like they're doing the same thing. They're going out on the street, they're collecting donations. It seems to be for a good cause. It's all charity. But the devotees, when they're doing it, they look so blissful, they look so happy. At the end of the day, whether they distributed many books, got many donations or not, they're in bliss, and they're so happy, and they're ready to do it every day, day in, day out. I know people that have been doing it for 55 years, going out every day, distributing books. And they love it so much. They don't care for the result. They simply love the activity itself. So externally, two situations which look the same, but one is very blissful, one isn't. And that's explained that that's the embrace of Lord Chaitanya. It's the embrace of Lord Chaitanya that you're feeling when you go out on book distribution. He's so pleased, he's so happy with what you're doing, that he embraces you and you feel that in your heart. And how else could you explain such a feeling from an activity where you're just going out and doing something which many other people do, but they don't experience that. There's so many forms of charitable work, welfare work for the world, but none of them are fully satisfying. Nothing in this world can be fully satisfying, no matter how charitable, no matter how giving. The person who's performing that charity will never become fully satisfied. But by performing Krishna consciousness, we do feel fully satisfied. And so it's a very special process. I guess that's my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for coming. And thank you, both of you. Like love and good. Just dance more. Huh? Dance more.
Very good. Past
Yes.
Yes. Probably a Spanish dancer in the past.
So, after of nonsense, so next week Friday we have our Harinam. So it will be this year's first Harinam. So Friday we meet at 6 o'clock here. We'll go for Harinam for an hour or so and come back and start the program at 7 o'clock. So anyone who is wishing or willing to come, please come at 6. We'll go for big Harinam on the Rochester Hills. Rochester High Street. And do you understand what the Harinam is? Anyone? So we go out on the street and we do the same thing what we have just done now. So chant and dance. And whoever wants to come, they can accompany us, come here, attend the program and have feast. Hare Krishna, yes.
Hare Krishna. So it sounds good, but is there any, in the winter, can it be done possibly at the weekend in the daytime?
It can be, but next Friday is a very special day.
Oh, okay.
So we have appearance day of Lord Nityananda Prabhu.
Yeah.
So we want to make it special. That's why we have Harinam. Then on Saturday we are celebrating Lord Nityananda Prabhu's appearance day at Radhanath Prabhu's farm in Kovam. So please all come. And we'll send notification again in the group. So please do make a note and please come next Friday and next Saturday as well. And again, thank you both of you for coming. And thank you for our new guest today. I hope you got some insight what we do and what we are. And please, yes, come and join us.
Oh, well, I mean, I've made it quite clear to Colin that I'm a writer and that I want to write about the community here.
Yes.
I mean, I've given him all my credentials, so he knows that I'm not here to trick anyone about it. I'm not here to write anything bad about anyone. I just absolutely know nothing about your community. So I come with a blank sheet of paper.
Wow. So possibly got some idea of what, who we are.
A little bit, but it's like coming into the middle of a film. You kind of, I'm a little bit lost. I'm a little bit lost in the plot. I can pick out certain little things, but it's.
I think while we have dinner, one of us can sit down with you and possibly go through 50
Well, I think I'm not too sure that we'll be able to do it over dinner. I think it's.
It's a big thing.
Anyway, it would be good if you just join for a few sessions and then you
And now it's time for prasadam. Can we have prasadam on the screen? Right. Oh yes,
So tomorrow we will have a group just in Maidstone. Maidstone is quite close by, right?
Yes.
Very close by. So anybody who's available, no pressure to do any amounts or anything like that. Forget about the numbers. But a couple of us will be in Maidstone on the high street. We'll have a really nice table with a nice design, plenty of books there, and a nice kirtan going on as well. And anyone who would like can come, feel free to join and try to distribute a few books. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, our mantra is touch the pavement. Just try and come and touch the pavement and just see how it goes and how it feels, and feel free to attend. So if anybody here would like to join, or if you know anybody that would like to come up to Maidstone tomorrow, you can just come up to me afterwards and take my number down to Maidstone. Yeah. So we can exchange contacts and we'll see you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Gaurang Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Thank you. That's mine. We'll do Mahaprasad mantra and then we'll have prasad. Mahaprasade Govinde.
Mahaprasade Govinde.
Brahmane Vaishnave.
Brahmane Vaishnave.
Punyavatam Raja. Vishwasunai Vajayate. Sharira Vidyaja. Purindriyatahika. Phile Vishay Sagure. Ramadhi Jivati. Shobhamay Sudurmati. काकेरिता कठिन संसारे कृष्णा वरदयामोय मणि बारे जीव जोय स्वाप्रसाद दिलो बाय सैयना मृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ मेदको श्री चैतन्य निताय हरिताय जय निमाय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे श्री राधा गोपीनाथ गौर निताय नरसिंहदेव शिला गुरुपाद गुरुदेव महाप्रसाद की जय। And it's time for prasad.